when you look at the stats, the numbers, the breakdown we had on the pre-show, the mid lane matchup, the top lane matchup, the soul lanes that are so critical, even the bottom lane, it just feels like this is just too much of an ask for any team. Doesn't matter if it was T1 here, we'd still be saying that GenG were favorites.
GenG is just that team, especially at the LCK. And you guys may have noticed, GenG have right of all selection. That is their right because they're coming from the upper bracket after defeating BNK there in a 3-1 fashion. So they pick blue and they pick first pick. Not a big surprise. As we go back to the old days with that one, Inara is going to be banned straight away. Definitely a good idea after what we saw yesterday from Diablo.
I think
just in general.
Wise here in game one, especially, as I think for BNK, the Rumble and the Pantheon are definitely the two big ones you're looking at. And you have the considerations between the Varus and the Vi, as you are our second pick. So these are the standard ones you're going to be taking away. The Nico ban is certainly an interesting one here. So both the Inara and the Nico are gone now by GenG's hands. If they're not looking for a Varus themselves, they could ban it here as well. The Orianna, the Azir, we've talked about this so much. We'll take the Azir away from Vikla despite its really low win rate here and lack of success. So let's see, will we see the Varus for the Orianna?
Yeah, and Rise, definitely something that a lot of our deskers have been saying over the last couple of days is super OP.
One thing to consider here in this draft as well, and I think it wouldn't be shocking based on the playstyle of BNK, is that Lucian pick is still looming here. When the Inara, the Nico are gone, that pick stocks go up quite heavily. So we'll see the Rise, not surprising to no one, expectedly locked in here first. So what will be the response? The Varus is available, the Cassiopeia is available here for Vikla if he wants to go for the more standard counter here. They can grab a jungle pick here with this Varus instead, like the Jarvan, which will then deny the Sivir pick here to counter in the bottom lane. We saw this exact rotation yesterday. Instead, they opt for the Pantheon, though, taking that away from the global mid lane of the Rise.
And I think, you know, if you pick up Pantheon, you maybe just go for Taliyah. In this case, we saw a lot of Rise Taliyah going head-to-head, especially early on in LCK Cup, and Taliyah Pantheon is one of the best mid-jungle duos that we do have. Rise himself, extremely powerful. Even Rise Pantheon, also extremely powerful, so they didn't want to give that over. But it does mean now that GenG have an opportunity to just go ahead and blind pick Gwen early on in this one.
I'm surprised by that, to be honest. And they'll take the Jarvan themselves. To remove a Pantheon flex as well, I think in this scenario feels pretty good. As now I think that Sivir probably has to be banned. If you have Sivir, Rise, and the Gwen, the wave clear is insane on this this composition, as well as its insane damage output later on. Spell shield great into Varus. The Taliyah you mentioned will be the consideration. I have to be honest with you though, Valdez, in a situation like this where you are playing into Rise and Gwen, I don't know if the global impact, even with these two, you know, the Pantheon Taliyah is going to be that high because you're not going to be able to control the side lanes to then play through them as well as you would like. Sure, the point and click stun for the Pantheon, the setup for the shove is absolutely there. You have Chains of Corruption as well. But when we think about the greater macro map, that's where I get a little bit more concerned. I think the bans here for BNK will likely be the Ezreal and the Sivir.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good idea. I think especially when you're going up against GenG, you have to always consider, you know, what your global composition is going to be able to do. So I think that's a really good point because GenG, right now especially, definitely our best macro team here at the LCK. It's part of the reason why they are so good at winning, as obviously it's a pretty big part of the game. Karma going to be taken away, so no Varus Karma in this one.
It's a really big hint that they're looking for a very strong scaling pick here, though, that will prefer to be able to get through this lane without too many hiccups. Could still be the Corki that Ruler has found so much success on, which works well with their draft and has a strong 2-item spike. I think this feels like it has to be a Sivir ban, though. Instead, with this Gwen and the front line of the Jarvan, they're more concerned about the Jhin. A little bit surprised to see that. I do think the Jhin works well here. Just a little bit tougher into the Pantheon and the Taliyah if you lose map control.
And we see a lot of lane picks of Jhin just to deal with the range of the Varus in the bottom side. And you know, already a decent amount of damage on the top side of the map for the side of GenG, so it seems like that was the angle, but...
GenG have decided they're just going to give Clear whatever he wants here. They're that confident in Keen with his blind Gwen. Not only do they blind it, but they protect it 0. They do nothing for Keen. And say it doesn't matter if he's going to play R into this, doesn't matter if he's going to play Jax into this, no matter what he wants to do, if he plays Aurora into this, we don't care. We think Keen is just good enough, and they'll give the Gnar over just straight up. Now, I do think
kind of
in
agree,
isolation, in straight up isolation, I think Clear deserves a lot of respect. He had a great series yesterday. He can generate a lead here. I think this is a very risky choice by GenG, but I think we have to highlight the confidence. And this, to me, was the most no-brain choice here in the bottom lane that GenG could have gone for. We've mentioned it several times. It's insane. Think about this. You have Sivir, Ryze, and Gwen. If you get grubs in this game, and you're GenG, so you're likely to be ahead in the mid game. And they get Bard as well, Valdez.
Oh, boy.
Oh, no, no, no! That's not allowed!
Yeah, and even if they don't get grubs, even if they fall like 10K behind, like, how do you push into this team? I don't really see it. I mean, yes, the Varus and the Taliyah will help, but as you mentioned earlier on, like, the wave clear is just disgusting. And now they're thinking about the Rel here, which will provide quite a lot of engage, and reliable one at that, but they are going to switch over to Rakan. A little bit more mobile on the pick.
I like the Rakan here. Can also be good into the Gwen front line if you could try to pick her off first. But you're playing Lethality Varus in this draft. Clear has such a huge responsibility in this game. He's the only one who has a strong direct counter pick to what his opponents have put together here. The blind Gwen that was not protected. If he can generate a lead there, push Keen behind, if they can play through that top lane a little bit, try to just play through the Varus range and stay stable down there. I do think that in team fights later on, there's enough engage here, there's enough tools to break through what is otherwise an insane triple threat composition. But remember, in every single fight, in every single setup, one tempered fate can ruin everything you're trying to do, which is why I like the Rakan more than the Rel, because it allows you to try to circumvent that and play around it. But man, we've talked about draft a lot in these last few best of fives, and to me, there is a very clear winner between these two teams. And they're GenG.
Yeah, I think, you know, GenG, always fantastic at drafting. I will say that what BNK got, it does feel very BNK, and they have very obvious win conditions of their own. But, you know, we always have to, there's always that disclaimer of like, well, you have to look at the other side, right? And in terms of who won, I would agree. Because also this draft here for GenG is very GenG. I think there's a lot of comfort for them, and they should be able to play it really easily. It's also the Jarvan that Canyon stole 2 objectives with a flag with in game number 1. As we are ready, guys, the top of the rift to begin our grand finals.
Minions have spawned.
They're doing it, Wolf.
They did. They did do the fan chants.
Yeah. Well, they got it out this time. You know, it wasn't perfect, but we're getting better every day, every game. Sure. We're getting better at the fan chants.
Again, difficult to coordinate with 10,000 people.
Yes.
And with no clear fan leader. You know, that's a system it took a long time to build in the StarCraft days. Mm-hmm. We're just not quite there yet here, but I think you can respect the attempt as well as the passion for knowing that it's the right thing to do, because these are LCK fans, true and true, every single person in this arena. Yeah, even the Cantonese language casters are waiting. You know, they're like, no, this is what we do at the LCK. Even though it's here in Hong Kong, it's really awesome to see. And, you know, in terms of BNK, you know, we did see 4 predictions going the way of BNK, and you know, on paper, GenG should be heavily favored coming into this one, and they are. You know, fan predictions were also like 75-25. We had 10 of us going for GenG. You know, even some 3-0s in there. As level 2 is going to be hit here, and have to heal to get away. But the one thing I will say about BNK is that their form looks fantastic based on what we saw yesterday, and I think that's the most important thing when you're coming into big best of 5s in front of a giant crowd, to make sure that, you know, they're on form, because obviously if you look at DK, it was the very opposite, and that's part of why yesterday was so one-sided. Yeah. Bad draft reads, but individual performances were not really there. And I think only one player I could really say I was worried about the performance of yesterday was Vikla, and he didn't even have a bad day, but he had some unusual moments. You know, and there were reports going around that he was not in good condition. Take that as you will. Hopefully he's doing better today. But at the end of the day, it's about how you play your draft in League of Legends. At this high level, when you get to the end of the tournament, where we are looking at the best 2 performing teams here in best of 5s.
Yeah.
So sometimes form on the day can wash away all the stats, all of what we talked about before. The last year winless LCK Cup feels so far away here for BNK. They've never been this close to lifting a domestic title. And all it takes is 3 wins. We've had a relatively quiet early game here. Pryo going to the Sivir Bard lane. And otherwise, things shaping up exactly as you would expect. We see Canyon is pathing down towards the bottom side of the jungle, though.
Ruler just running through Rakan and saying, I am going to attack this Varus. Didn't exactly work out for him, but they are going to push the wave and back. Ruler mentioning how the later it gets in the tournament, the bigger the stage, the colder it gets. And he's going to show BNK and Diablo what it's like to feel that. Really highlighting their lack of experience. But here comes the Jarvan. And now we got Diablo in a lot of trouble. And the flash forward from Canyon picks up the first blood just like that.
They were prepared for this possibility. They had the ward. Kellen misses the knock-up. And the flash comes through from Canyon. And that is that. The punish of the punish. They thought they were going to get the punish there on the overextension of Ruler. Try to deny his backs. And instead, it's Canyon who comes over here and picks up first blood for GenG. It's not the first time we've seen this guy take an early trip to the bottom lane on the Jarvan and pick up a big W. We'll watch this one again in a moment. But that ward was so valuable for BNK. They did their due diligence.
Yeah.
But sadly, it is just not enough.
Yeah, I mean, the timing was actually perfect here.
Look at
from Canyon.
The ward that they have. They push forward. They know they have that vision. Canyon waits, like you said, the timing is perfect. He sees his angle. He's like, okay, they're too far up. And then this here from Kellen, if he hits this knock-up, then obviously there's a lot more play here. But it's flashed by Canyon. He gets the kill. And meanwhile, Vikla, who is teleportless, is ghosting back to lane with a few minions.
It's just a really good read from Canyon that he knows, you know, if he cannot get knocked up, it's a free kill. And so he just expends his flash in the perfect timing to make sure he does get away. We've seen a lot of the top lane, you know, trying to see if Clear can actually push this Gwen out of the lane. The blind Gwen that was picked early and not even banned for, not protected at all. I'm also very curious to see what's going to happen here in the top lane, as we do have level 6 hit by Clear, but no kill pressure just yet, as Keen also hits 6.
Yeah, they're just pressing all of his buttons to try to get the best trade here possible. The bottom side of the map, a lot of Pryo actually going over to BNK, and Vikla does have mid control. So they're going to look to scrap for it, though, GenG. We'll see if the Weaver's Wall can be placed here to deny.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely can come in here, as Kellen going to try to engage. Canyon trying to get into the pit, and he will. It will come down to just a flip, and it goes to Canyon on top of the kill on a Raptor, and Diablo nowhere to go. He is going to flash the wall and immediately die, and GenG is already rolling BNK in this first game. So we do see Kellen flash away just to eventually die to Ruler, who picks up the kill, and it's already almost 2,000 gold and the Dragon to GenG.
Not a single player outside of Clear for BNK has flash after that fight as well. Everyone expending their flashes. Chovy has to follow flash over the wall to get the kill onto Diablo. But I think when you're playing a lethal tempo Varus in this game, which you did go for, we didn't mention that earlier, I think is actually the right call. Much better than the lethality for how this draft is going to play out. That's a huge flash to lose. As Raptor goes in here, Canyon is just so mobile. He's able to buffer the stun, and everyone tries to collapse onto him. Not only are they unable to burst him down, but he secures the smite. And Diablo gets the kill on him, but it's just consolation here, as Chovy still has ultimate who they could follow. Vikla, who forces his ult out, and Kellen is just isolated here. Ruler picks up the kill. This is a disaster for BNK with a draft that's already so difficult to pull off from behind into the insane wave clear GenG have.
Yeah.
The only way this gets worse is if GenG pick up all 3 grubs in 70 seconds time.
Which I think is not going to be surprising anymore. You know, Canyon's going to get his flash first back because he used it earlier on in the gank in bottom lane. And look at where all the money went. We have a kill onto Chovy, we have 2 onto Ruler, and 1 onto Canyon. So, all the money's going to the perfect people outside of the Gwen who wasn't even there, right? So all your carries are getting fed. They're going to scale up much quicker. You're not going to have to worry about, hitting a power trough while, the Taliyah Pantheon and the Varus are doing a number before you're quite ready. If you're already ahead like this, and Canyon has made his presence felt already.
I think the frustrating thing for BNK and partially why they decided to commit there, speaking of commitment.
Oh, we got a Pantheon coming on in as that is going to be Tempered Fate used, but Duro, there is nowhere for him to go, and he doesn't even flash, accepts his death.
So that's a big Tempered Fate to help Ruler get out, but it is not going to save his life. As Ruler didn't have flash there, but he could just walk it off. We're going to have a bit of an ult here for Clear. But going back to the Dragon fight, I think the reason why BNK committed so heavily is because they had Prio, they had control, they had the Weaver's Wall, and yet still couldn't fight their way out of it. Does scare you in terms of implications for what other future fights could look like. Keen does have his ultimate at the ready. Clear has to be very respectful here as he did not do enough damage. Sitting on a Cull and
he's kind of hanging out like desperately trying to get the wave in a good spot, but instead he just has to back. So, yeah, the Gnar answer so far, not feeling too good.
It started well, right?
Yeah.
But at this moment in time, he does have just the Cull and the Merc Treads. A little bit of health he picked up on this final back here. It's going to be a little bit easier for Keen to take those trades, but the play was great from Keen. He used the wave aggressively once the Gnar was gone. And he can bounce back here for sure, and we'll be able to farm well as long as nothing else disastrously occurs there on the top side. Speaking of the grubs we talked about earlier, it's time. They have spawned here. TP going to come in from Duro. They are ready to fight for this.
Yeah, and again, like I mentioned before, Canyon has flash advantage here on his jungle counterpart. Kellen is here, but TP's come in from both supports. Canyon trying to get on top of this grub, or rather the Scuttle Crab, and he actually does smite it as he flag drags away. So now that's going to be an even better spot for them, for GenG in this river.
And Canyon keeps putting himself in dangerous positions, and BAK want to chase, they want to catch him, but he's Jarvan. He's like, I'm out of here. I got flash up, by the way.
Late too. I mean, like Diablo's going mid, but he's not. He's not going to be here on time. Nice smite here from Raptor, but yeah, at least they are trying to deny. As yeah, he just takes the 2, and now GenG have 2 of the grubs.
Incredible play here from Canyon in this first game. From the early gank, the pressure he's had on these objectives, the secures, the baiting. It has been a master class. And that was one of the big matchups that we were most excited for. And even yesterday, Raptor versus Lucid, we thought was going to potentially be a deciding factor. Raptor picked up player of the match. But so far, Canyon is definitely getting the better of this Pantheon in this draft with the Jarvan pick. And with the leads we have now everywhere on the map here for GenG, they're poised to potentially set up for second Dragon here because that wave clear, it's already going to start hitting.
All right.
Let's see if Keen gets potentially caught.
Yeah, not on vision here is Raptor. No Mega Gnar though, so maybe gonna wait for that. No, just gonna hop on forward and look to bait him into this fight as the needles will come out. Flash forward from Raptor, just trying to burst him down, and the shield comes up right at the perfect time. Clear secures the kill.
And Keen, I think, did not react right away when he saw the hop come through. He was like, this seems like a bait. I don't believe this. I don't trust this. But in fact, Raptor was there. Didn't have to use his ultimate either. So actually still has his ult, and now Sundered Sky to come over here and contest the Dragon. It's a thin margin. Maybe he can get here in time. Doesn't look likely.
Yeah, a little bit too late. And they have Bard as well, so they just, yeah. They just all do that. Magical Journey over the wall, and it's a free one. And Infernal Soul comes in, and GenG have Double Dragon.
They have Double Dragon with Infernal Soul on the way with Ryze and Sivir.
And
It does seem favorable.
All right, TP comes out just to survive.
That's not a win for Clear. It's less of a loss. He will be able to escape at least. And it does feel like Canyon is Jack Sparrow in this game with how BNK are trying to punish him, trying to catch him, trying to make sure this Jarvan can't get out. He just gets out every time with the exception of the death in the bottom lane, which was absolutely worth it. And what BNK get in exchange is a residual Scuttle Crab.
Yeah. Bit of a consolation prize, it feels like. And yes, Clear got the kill. He's ahead on gold, a very nice amount, 600. But this is Gnar we're talking about. It's not like a hyper-scaling pick. It can take over games, but you know, it's a lot of pressure on Clear as a Gnar to deal with a Ryze and a Sivir as this game comes along.
I do think that if he can maintain this lead, and he has a call to cash in soon, he's going to be a big problem that GenG will have to commit a lot of resources for. But luckily for GenG, they have a Rise. That makes it a lot easier. If it was just Gwen trying to deal with this straight up with a Jarvan, with a Pantheon on the other side, the Snar becomes a lot more difficult to deal with because of the global presence there, but they can match that to a certain extent with Rise. Bit of a 2v2 here. I don't think it will really amount to much, but Diablo can get some of that damage through. It doesn't hit as hard as it would if it were a, Yoramu's in his inventory right now, but he does have the Blade of the Ruined King, which is a big spike for him. He can fight a scrappy skirmish here around this Herald, for example. BNK could get right back in this game.
They want to dive the Gwen, it looks like.
This is a really risky choice. I don't think
not going to do it. I saw like 5 pings, and I'm like, really? Are they going to do that? That's crazy. I mean, Keen also has his flash, so... And there was not even Mega Gnar, so... Just a bunch of pings.
They do opt out, which is wise. Let's see what they do for this Herald, though, because it's not about their ability to team fight straight up 5v5. We know that the pick potential is there. We know this Varus is going to have decent damage output if there's any sort of setup from the Gnar or from the Pantheon. It's about getting to the objective and having that fair fight. Because with this wave clear for GenG, it doesn't feel like you're ever going to have said fair fight. As Clear's in trouble.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the stun down, but it's not quite going to land. The slows do come in. That's going to be the end of that.
Duro cleansing, I believe, with Unsealed there, which was very funny. Diablo's going to get some money on the other side of the map. So this is not a net loss necessarily here for BNK. But where is that setup going to be? Like, Keen is getting so much done already here as Pickle tries to surf his way over. And there needs to be a strong fight here for BNK. If they just simply give this Herald up, then GenG gets so much more control with the damage they've already done. This is ambitious.
Yeah, I mean, Keen can try to kite this one out, and the second the seismic shove misses, that's the end of that. I mean, this early on, the wall isn't going to do all too much, and he'll have it back for the Drake, so it's fine, but
what about the Herald?
Yeah. Not sure about that one. Maybe they don't want to fight for it. We do have a lot of plates that are traded back and forth. I saw a couple going to Keen.
This might be the best fight BNK gets the rest of this game. They have the better group up. Clear does not have teleport, but neither does Keen. So this 4v4 scrap could be the best chance they have to win a team fight here with some pick and get themselves back in it. Because I think if they simply do not get that, that does not happen. Or if they lose the fight, it's even, the door is really closed on this one. And GenG know that this is a fight that's somewhat favorable for BNK despite their lead, and they're just not going to walk straight into it. Herald hasn't spawned yet. They actually play this safe. They clear the vision. And it's actually BNK who has to relinquish control. They were a bit too early on the setup, and GenG just play it out patiently. And now the tables have turned completely. Clear's teleport is coming back.
Bit of a stun here on a Duro, trying to, okay, that was kind of strange, but Vikla does dodge it, and now Duro in a really weird spot, just gonna go down, and Vikla essentially outplays him, and the Rift Herald has to be stopped.
Yeah, it was a really cool attempt there from Duro. I really like the idea. Unfortunately, a bit of a mis-execute, just gets outplayed by Vikla. And that's a dead Bard right before this Rift Herald. So that fight I was talking about, they don't win a swimming lead in terms of gold off of it, but they put a dent in it and they grab the Herald essentially for free. There's a lot of momentum back into the hands here of BNK.
Do see a bit of an all-in here from Keen as the Needle's going on in, wants to get that snip, and eventually does a nice amount of damage. But Rift Herald still goes over.
Canyon's here because they know that the Herald's being done. They know the Raptor isn't here, but he's coming over relatively quickly. Does have his ultimate, so I think committing here could be a bit of an issue for GenG, especially with the mid lane prio that Diablo currently holds, and they will decide to back away. Clear survives. He's got his Narbar set for this Dragon, and BNK, just off of that Duro pick alone, might be able to get back-to-back objectives here, and it looks like they will.
Yeah, and their comp right now quite strong, especially with the Fed Gnar that comes over with the Mega Gnar. Goes down to 1, kind of funny there, but they do get the first Infernal Drake, going to be pretty huge for getting a stepping stone into this mid game where their comp is just so strong before GenG's really scales up. Keeping it very close, and honestly, BNK, if they keep this up, could absolutely come back in this game.
The truth, Valdez, for me, how I feel about this game is, obviously this was the magical journey attempt to try to link up, and then obviously Chovy comes through and they get the pick on the Vikla, but he does avoid the Tempered Fate. Duro gets hit by it, and it's a very funny situation for the fans watching. And unfortunately, this is a big win for BNK, but that leads to Herald, that leads to Dragon. But what I was going to say is the fact that with these comps, they're keeping this game even. They look like they are just straight up equals with GenG in terms of what this game is looking like thus far, despite the deficit, which is even arguably more impressive. It's a good sign here for BNK. Let's see what happens, though, as we move forward further and further into this game. Like you said, with a scaling draft that you and I vastly prefer here for GenG. As we are going to see a group up top side here. Raptor does have his ult. They want this turret, but I don't think they get it on this wave, and they back away.
They did look at him for about a split second menacingly, and then walked that one off.
The power of the Pantheon. The Pantheon's 0, 1, and 3 in this game, but the fact that he exists means that they just have to opt out of a lot of these attempts they're looking for. They're like, just not safe enough.
Yeah, if he's ever there, it's just over. Vikla again, just dodging, and the stun not going to land, but Keen is on the chase, and the needles have landed. Flashes over that one, but Vikla is at least able to flash back over the wall and get away. Nicely played from him to get out of sticky situations.
Maps, I'm going to get this turret, it looks like, here. They do have to expend the Rift Herald for it, so pretty expensive, but in terms of gold, they pulled ahead into the gold lead here, BNK do. The first brick, as you say. This is a big win on the other side of the map after Vikla's really cool escape. The second time he sidesteps the Tempered Fate back-to-back from Duro.
Yeah, we did see after that play that Keen was trying to push into the bottom lane, probably picked up some more plates, but he's still 1,100 gold behind Clear, who got a bunch of the money up in top lane from the first turret going down. So the blind Gwen, we were like, oh, not sure about this. And then we were like, oh, no, it's Keen, he's doing great. But now we're like,
Just haven't been given enough resources. And when the Pantheon is missing, it's hard to commit heavily if you're Canyon in these scenarios.
Yeah.
So BNK holding on to map control, holding on to a gold lead here. That is almost entirely Gnar. I say that, they have dropped back down to a small deficit. They were holding it for a moment. The game doesn't feel even, though, because this lead for GenG is still there. They have a double dragon advantage, and they have the scaling composition. The IE is already done for Ruler. I think given these drafts, and the fact that he has Cleanse and Spell Shield, as well as his Flash available, you know, he doesn't need to really build anything else. He just goes straight to IE, and he's like, I'm already basically on my way to becoming the highest damage dealer in this game. And Chovy will have something to say about it when he gets his actualizer, but for now, he won't be quite doing the same amount of damage. He's halfway through his Rod of Ages. BNK need to somehow utilize this Gnar to push side lanes and play through it with Raptor. And they need to be able to do that either aggressively on the opposite side of spawning objectives so that they can then pull GenG around the map, or do on the same side and try to turn those picks into a Baron take, for example. Easier said than done with this draft, but they do have the tools.
Yeah, they absolutely do. And you see that this game has, I was going to say slowed down, but now Vikla in a lot of trouble. Just getting run at, sprinted at by Chovy. Raptor doing a number here to Duro, and now the rest of the team has shown up. So a couple of kills going each way. Looks like Chovy and Diablo picking up one apiece. And now we got Diablo in a bit of trouble. He is going to have to flash out of this one. Gets over the wall, and now the Pantheon's coming in. Canyon, get low, gets taken out. Diablo steps up and immediately dies. Double kill comes in for Ruler, who is just shredding them apart. Clear alone now as the damage too much from the GenG composition. Clear, he's probably going to get away from this one, but it's still a good fight for GenG.
Seems so much like this game has felt like BNK are trying to say, our hands diff will beat the stat check, but GenG are giving them a bit of a reality check, and this one is Clear, is trying to defend this turret. It is ramping hard, and it will be successful, but that last fight, you know, again, Vikla, this time he doesn't have Flash when he's caught, but they have the Pantheon nearby, and they have mid-prio. So initially, it's kind of like, GenG, have you made a mistake here? The shield on the Vikla buys so much time. Duro takes an insane amount of damage, and this doesn't save him because of the timing here on this shot from Diablo. And from this point on, you think, okay, they should have enough control. They kind of get split, though. The Pantheon goes to deal with the bottom side wave. Ults back in is very late. They do get the kill on the Canyon, but they just do not have anywhere near the damage output that Ruler and Chovy have here. And we're in mid-game. This isn't even the late-game Silverwise. This is pre-actualizer.
Yeah, and take a look at the score lines here for GenG. We're not going to have time for that, though, as the Dragon getting low. Raptor in a lot of trouble. Going to have to put up the shield and evacuate the pit as that Infernal Drake does go over to GenG. Not much hope here for BNK. They're like, oh, maybe we can take a fight with Meganar. Nope, GenG are already out.
This is, it really felt like for a while, maybe BNK could prove that mechanically with the hands, right? That there were some moments, there's some outplays that could turn this draft on its head. Diablo went against the grain of the meta, went for the lethal tempo here, is going on hit, which I really like here. And you can see he's playing it incredibly well. But there are so many limitations to what you could do with this draft. And now GenG really just hold all the cards. Every single upcoming Dragon fight could be game losing for BNK if they don't opt in. And even if they get map control and they have a favorable setup, GenG can opt out. And with this much wave clear, like we've been talking about, I don't know if there's ever going to be a prio favorable situation for BNK for the rest of this game.
Yeah, I think especially eventually once, you know, Keen gets a couple more items and can match clear a little bit better on this Gwen, you're really going to be struggling. I mean, there's nothing really that Vikla can do into the Rise except clear the waves himself.
I mean, just look at the mini-map outside of where clear is.
Trying to make a play here onto the Gwen. You see the stun, the Wallop does come down. Raptor is here. It's a bunch of damage into Keen already, but the needles are coming out. He has to flash away.
Baron. It's Baron.
Yeah.
GenG.
They're trying to dive Keen here, but this is a distraction from the real win. As look at this Baron. And it's already down to 7,000. They have insane amounts of damage with the Sivir and the Rise.
Just cannot do anything here. Diablo's already opted out. He's just pushing mid. The Baron goes over. And this felt so obvious. The Rise has topside control. The mid plyo is there for the Sivir. And so BNK just said, well, there's only one play we can make. We could try to further our lead. The one lead we had, the Gnar, push Keen out. They're successful in that, but the cost is just too damn high, Valdez. As look at the minimap here. Look at the prio. Look at where Diablo is standing. Look at where Vikla is. There's no one anywhere near the Baron. So you have to kill Keen faster here, quickly enough to then be able to turn and deny the Baron. And if you were able to do this without using the Pantheon ultimate, maybe he could rotate in. But Keen just lives long enough to where this is never going to be favorable for BNK. They get more money on this Gnar. But I think that alone is not going to be enough here.
Yeah, it's absolutely not going to be. I mean, we have 3 items already on the Sivir with the Flicker Blades. That's a knockback on a Canyon who has been so tanky and so survivable. They finally take him out in this scenario. As now the Mikhails comes in on a Raptor. Tons of damage comes out from Chovy. And the disengage cone does get them to safety.
And the Gnar is pushing with teleport.
Walls coming down. I mean, trying to catch Ruler here, but it's a Sivir. I mean, this is not going to work. As they're desperately trying to get the picks going, and now we got a TP coming in. But they are moving forward. The knockback this time on a Ruler is big, and Raptor's tanking in the front line. But it's really just a kiting battle, and Clear is pretty gigantic on this Gnar. He wants to push forward, and he is on the hunt. Look at this guy, little mini Gnar, just sprinting at them, but he's kind of alone, taking a bunch of damage from Ruler now. As Chovy on the chase, flashes forward, gets the kill on a Vikla, and now Clear in the backline can't do it up by himself, gets the Gnar.
Raptor's ult's coming up,
and that's about it. And Diablo and Kellen on the backside here, just being hounded down by Chovy, who was getting free money. The double kill comes in, and GenG get a massive fight.
And Chovy, with this flash play in this fight, says that he too can hands check this team. BNK had their angle, they had their moment. They commit to the Gnar play. They don't sit him in sides. They know that if they just let GenG play through this Baron, they are just never going to be able to have an even or fair trade. So they go for the all-in fight, the Hail Mary. But GenG do not fall apart. They respond well. When you look at this fight, this setup here on the Canyon, he's caught instantly, and there isn't a big response initially from GenG, but finally Chovy comes through. Look at where Clear is on the minimap. He could have opted to then just say, all right, look, we trade here, we're going to push that turret, I'm going to get a bunch of money, I'm already ahead. Instead, they think that GenG are split enough. With the Rise on the right side there and the Weaver's Wall, they can burst Ruler down, but he's Sivir. He's basically full health after their Gambit. Look at the health of Vikla and Raptor. Keen is so big, even with the deficit over the Gnar, he can do so much alone to buy space for Ruler. Ruler's low health now. We can just clear this wave and not care. In live, we are going to have a bit of a scuffle here once again. But Chovy's play in this fight here is Clear chases the right side as really the backbreaker. Flashes in, gets the root onto Vikla, has the arm guard. He's had it for a while this game, but hasn't had any reason to use it. And it gets insane value here. The Nars eventually kite it down, and that's the end of this story.
For me, it's the Q flash extension from Chovy. That's insane. They're trying to get the charm on Akeem, but look at Diablo. He's just dead. He's already dead. They had to try to fight for the Infernal, and this is what it looks like when you try. At this point in the game against GenG, they will massacre you. Double kill goes the way of Keen. And I think it's all done but the crying here in game number 1, Wolf. GenG just too far ahead. Chovy nearly legendary. Not a single death on this guy. And 5-0 and 6 for Ruler as they push to try to end game 1.
Maybe the Gwen that they gave no draft resources to got countered by the Gnar, but it just doesn't matter when you have triple threats, 2 of the 3 deathless until this very moment. They are going to do way too much damage. We were worried about the wave clear, we were worried about the scaling damage, but this game didn't even crack 30 minutes, and GenG take a decisive first win in this series.
A lot more composed to start off this best of 5.
In some ways, the way that they played this game and how Diablo tried to play in the aggressive plays from Vikla and side lanes made it feel like BNK said, you know what, like scissors can if we just do it right, cut through rock in this game. Like they were trying to out-mechanic, they were trying to win this game just by their raw individual skills. But if you look at the names on the other side, that can only get
텔 없잖아. 오케이. 나공 떨궈서. 나 봐줘. 라칸. 야, 끝내라. 탈려.
야 뒤에도 있거든 뒤에 있거든.
야, 판대 보자. 판대 노플이야, 형. 야, 미드 간다. 판테온 달리기 선수야. 그러니까 말 안 된다. 우사히 볼 수. 나 미카엘도 있어. 얘 다 노플이야, 쟤네.
아래 미니고.
둘 노플. 예, 둘 다.
타워쳐도 돼.
판테 노플. 미카엘 좋은데? 내가 나 그냥 타워 칠게. 타워 치면 끝나. 나이스요. 네, 다들 젠드.